Beneath the streets of Tehran lies a 30-acre fortress known as the Pasteur Street Compound. For over 3 decades, this heavily guarded perimeter shielded one of the most protected individuals on the planet. That individual was Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader and the center of its nuclear ambitions. For years, Israeli intelligence tried to slow down those ambitions by assassinating individual scientists and bombing isolated industrial sites. But these tactical strikes only bought time. The Iranian leadership simply replaced the personnel and moved the nuclear equipment to new locations. Targeting Khamenei directly seemed physically impossible. He lived inside a subterranean bunker network so deep it required a 5-minute elevator ride just to reach the main floor. Even if penetrated, assassinating him without U.S. backing would ignite an uncontrollable regional war. Dropping a few bombs was no longer going to solve the problem. Eliminating a target fortified by geography and geopolitics required abandoning standard military doctrine to build a 10-year, perfectly orchestrated kill chain. The foundation for that operation was laid in January 2018. Under the cover of darkness, Mossad agents infiltrated an unassuming warehouse in Tehran, cut open a series of iron safes with blowtorches, and smuggled half a ton of classified nuclear files out of the country. The stolen cash provided the specific blueprints for Iran's most hidden underground bunkers, locations that had remained invisible to satellites and traditional surveillance for years. This discovery pivoted Israel's entire strategy. The War Cabinet concluded that bombing facilities was a temporary fix. For a permanent solution, they had to target Khamenei himself. Mapping the bunker was only the first step. To execute a strike, they needed real-time surveillance. Israeli intelligence exploited firmware bugs in Chinese-made CCTV cameras, while simultaneously compromising civilian software, like the widely used Bade Saba prayer app, to gather location data directly from the phones of those near the compound. This ground-level video was cross-referenced with orbital surveillance. KH-11 satellites calculated building heights based on shadows, while Orion satellites intercepted local radio signals and satellite phone calls directly from the compound. But the compound itself was wired with closed-loop fiber optic cables that didn't leak radio signals. To breach that final barrier, human intelligence operatives embedded themselves into the daily routine. They compromised local maintenance staff, tracked daily food delivery manifests, and sifted through the compound's trash. This 3-pronged approach successfully penetrated the perimeter, feeding terabytes of raw video, audio, and physical movement logs back to intelligence headquarters every single day. The problem was that no team of human analysts could possibly process or make sense of that sheer volume of data fast enough to act on it. To solve the data bottleneck, the intelligence was fed into a specialized AI infrastructure known as Project Maven, a system originally developed by the private data company Palantir for the Pentagon. This data web shows how the software instantly cross-referenced thousands of variables. It learned which driver operated which vehicle, mapped the exact shift changes of the security guards, and even analyzed Khamenei's walking posture to distinguish him from body doubles. Within 90 minutes, the system generated a predictive pattern of life with 98.7% accuracy. They knew exactly where the target would be and when. But the sitting U.S. administration firmly opposed direct escalatory strikes on Iranian leadership, repeatedly warning Israel against pulling the trigger. Without American diplomatic cover, the operation stalled. Israel initiated a strategic pause, calculating that the November 2024 elections might install a new administration willing to provide full military backing. By early 2026, the pieces were locked into place. Israel held a high-precision predictive model and the geopolitical clearance to pull the trigger. On February 23, 2026, the AI flagged a critical anomaly, quickly verified by human assets. In exactly 5 days, Khamenei and 40 of his top officials were scheduled to hold a morning meeting. Crucially, this gathering wouldn't happen deep underground, but inside a surface-level building within the Pasteur Street compound. The operation began before a single jet crossed the border. Years earlier, Israel's Unit 8200 had embedded dormant malware into the supply chains of Iran's air defense network. At the exact moment the strike package approached, that malware was activated, instantly blanking primary radar screens and cutting off command centers. Any remaining analog radar sites were immediately smothered. U.S. Navy EA-18G Growler aircraft deployed over the Persian Gulf, flooding the Iranian airspace with intense electromagnetic waves that reduced detection screens to pure static. While the electronic operators held the system blind, a swarm of small drones, smuggled into the country over several months and hidden in safe houses, were activated. They flew directly into the physical anti-aircraft batteries, destroying the ground defenses from the inside out. At exactly 9:40 a.m., with the airspace completely sanitized, Israeli and U.S. fighter jets released over 30 hypersonic missiles. They plunged through the atmosphere in a sheer vertical drop, detonating precisely on the single above-ground meeting room. The entire supreme leadership was eliminated in seconds. The millions of dollars and decades of engineering poured into constructing the 5-minute deep underground bunker were rendered completely irrelevant by the decision to step above the surface. In a single coordinated morning strike, the entire command structure of the Iranian government was decapitated. But the operation didn't end with explosives. Minutes later, millions of Iranian citizens checked their phones as the Bade Saba prayer application, which intelligence had already compromised to gather location data, began broadcasting synchronized push notifications telling the Iranian military to surrender. For centuries, physical distance and thick concrete walls were the ultimate guarantors of safety for national leaders. This event dismantled that assumption. When an adversary can silent map your supply chains, monitor your daily routines from orbit, and deploy artificial intelligence to predict your exact location down to the minute, no physical barrier matters. No bunker on Earth is deep enough to hide, and absolutely no one is out of reach.